So we're talking about mediums of observation for typing.
Mm.
I think this
Hmm.
is a very important topic for us because we've been typing as a team, I don't know, since 2017. So it's been at least 5 plus years. And before that, I hooked up with David, and because he was the typing god before I took his place violently. No,
Violent
I learned.
toppling.
I had to learn from David. Like he was the most knowledgeable typer at the time, and I mean we're all knowledgeable. I'm just talking shit, but like
Right.
it's this sort of you have to seek out people who have the skill set. But what I'm trying to get at is that over the years we have all been learning what is the best way to do this. I've been obsessed with
Right.
typing. David's been obsessed with typing. Joseph, you became obsessed with typing, and we've been trying to figure out like what is the most accurate way to observe someone and to work on this to get more consistent, accurate results. And so, in the past, we would type people in one-on-one sessions, or you would, and we
Right.
realized over time, yes, I mean, if you have a lot of experience, that is a can be an accurate modality of typing. But what we currently do, and anyone who's really serious about accuracy, is that you have to get a sample from someone and observe it not only yourself, but have something that you can reference with someone else in a team of other observers. For example, if I type Joseph by myself and I go to David and I say, hey, I did a session with Joseph and I think he's a 7 or a 4, there's
Hmm.
nothing that David can reference other than my own
Yeah.
account or perception of Joseph. So there's no sense of like, well, who's going to check me? Who's going to check that what I did is accurate or true? So that's why we currently use the process that we have today. It's like you have to submit a video so that I can observe it, Joseph can observe it, we can talk about it, uh, and it can be sort of a way that we can track: are we actually observing the type as it is?
And having people submit, a video and collages, you have to have that distance because if you're trying to type somebody in a conversation, you're having to deal with the conversation. You know what I mean? And
Yes,
being
yes,
basic, you know, diplomacy or
Human.
whatever
Yeah.
of a conversation,
Yeah.
all that
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to. I mean, I've said this, I think, and it's probably a little bit easier for social blinds, but I know just as a social, there's like no freaking way that I can talk to somebody and also like be there for them socially, which takes a huge amount
Hmm.
Yeah.
of like
Hmm.
brain
Hmm.
power, attention, whatever, all of that, and then yet also observe them as a detached specimen, not
Yeah.
just based on how I'm interacting with them, because I could be so hyper focused in any interaction on like how I'm being perceived. We
Yeah.
all are.
Hmm.
That's what social is, right? Like everybody has different
Right.
levels of attention. Maybe for me, it's like higher than most people, but I need to just watch. It's like if you're watching TV, you can analyze characters and
Hmm.
see things in a different way that if you were standing in the room talking to these people.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
actually can't be immersed in it because you are now a participant in it. So it's like this is the only way. I don't think anybody who is saying that they are typing people via interviews is, it's not that you automatically going to get it wrong, but that's really difficult. And the other problem with in interviews is like typing is, I mean, we all come to these objective conclusions, but typing is also very personal, like the way the
Hmm.
reactions and the things that you get.
Yeah.
Again, when someone's talking to you, not only are you controlling what you say, but in some way you're also controlling what you think. Like if you're sitting
Hmm.
there thinking, I hate this person, or they remind me of this and this type of 9 or 7 that I fucking hate, or whatever, and you're having these thoughts, and at the end of the day, it might just lead you to an objective, detached conclusion, but you can't even have those thoughts when somebody's talking to you. Because
Yeah.
when you're
Right.
in a social interaction, not only are you controlling your words, but you're even trying to control your own thoughts. Because of
Yeah.
course your thoughts and your words are connected. You know what I
Sure.
mean? So your brain just is not free to observe this dispassionately, so to speak, if you're actually speaking to the person.
And then
Yeah.
this opens us up to the whole thing of, well, the criticism of that we're treating people as specimens because it is a sort of specimen
Yeah.
style that we're doing, but
Yeah.
it's
In
necessary.
Yeah.
It's yeah, that's what we've realized over the years is that yeah, me and David used to do typing sessions, and I don't think that well, and I don't think there was any typing session that I did where I typed someone's core type incorrectly, but in order to do so, it's kind of a confrontational
It
session
is. Yes. Yeah.
because the
Right.
person is arguing for a type,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
you have to be in the conversation but also be out of the conversation observing the conversation.
Hmm.
Yep.
So it's like a high wire act. It's very
Yeah.
advanced, and I it's very difficult to do. And so I think one thing that I've learned, uh the practice of typing has taught me, and I think it's taught all of us, is how unreliable our modalities of observation are. So you can watch a typing video this week and see this and this, and then talk to someone else who watched the same typing video and realized that there was a whole thing, a whole chunk over here that was there but you didn't see.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
you come back a week later. This is our process. We come back a week later, having watched it again, incorporating the things that we missed, and then we go talk about it again. And you might realize that there was another piece that you didn't see or somebody else
Totally.
picked up.
Like
And
layers. Yeah.
so you just realize like no one has it all together. Like I don't care who you are, like you
No.
have to
Mm-mm.
consistently give yourself opportunity to address your blind spots. And the only way that you can do that is if you have a sample that you can go over again, that you can check with somebody else. Because if you're
Yes.
just relying on an interaction with somebody, I've mistyped my family members. It's difficult.
Yeah.
You might know somebody really well, and then they submit a typing video, and you realize, oh, I didn't see them this way, even though
Hmm.
you've known them for so long.
Well, and the
Yeah.
other
Oh,
thing
all
too
the
is
time.
there's the thing of what your maybe innate talents are in terms of observation, but then there's the ever changing thing of your own psychological state or emotional state that might have
Yes.
you miss something. So this is why having three people is essential or more, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the point you're making about like mistyping your own family members is like that.
Right.
This is proof. This is so key because the amount of times that I have, even my friend Rosine, who's 9'6'4", and I thought she was 9'6" wing 5'3". She made a video, and within 2 minutes, I was like, this is secondary
Exactly.
6'7", and I was like 100%. Every time I've spoken to her for the past like 15 years, I didn't pick up on this, but now I got to just sit there and look at her
Yes.
without involving
Yes.
myself.
Right.
And I was
There
like,
you
oh,
go.
no, I got this. And I got it really easily, but there was no way I was going to get it by talking to her.
No, I think that's a huge aspect of it is to, like for example, in his DAA classes, look at how much since doing DAA we've improved because we've been forced to find the typing in a video. So you're looking at an
Right.
interview, which is a context that all these celebrities have to deal with. So maybe you thought this person was a 7, and then you put them in an interview context and you have to watch it and you're like, oh shit, this not actually there. And so the
Yeah.
value of what we're doing is like everyone has to come through the same passageway. You have to answer the same fucking questions.
Hmm.
And if you're looking at people within the same context, it becomes very clear to see the differences between the types because you have a sample. We're all doing the same thing. We're all doing collages. And even if it's someone you really know well, it's almost like you see them completely differently
Yeah.
once they've
Yeah.
done something like that.
Yeah.
It's also our own trajectory progression of finding the types, the energies of the types within ourselves and being able
Yes.
to, and that is a whole progression too. Like I'm
Right.
still updating internally at some body level this whole 9-7
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to
It's
take
and
time.
it's
Yeah.
taking time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, I feel like it's just, I mean, because we've made some iterations in our process in the last couple of years, just because it's like the more typings we do, the more that we know that we can't wing it. Like the only way that we can be sure that we're getting consistent results is to have a set process where people kind of like assembly line go through that you can start to see types a lot more clearly. And so this is like a culmination of learning, refining a process by figuring out what gets accurate results over time. I mean, because we used to do typings individually. Now we do them,
Mhm.
we cross check with each other and
Yep.
individually
Hmm.
over the course of weeks, which is
Yep.
like, it just forces you to observe and re observe, come back again, look at your blind spots. It's like that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the typing, I mean, if anybody is thinking that it's expensive, not that I'm trying to justify prices, but just to put this into perspective, I mean, it takes each
Yeah.
of us, so 3 people, hours of time each
Hmm.
to do each of those typings. Like that's, I mean, and that's the only way. I mean, we could just whip them out, but like we
Right.
want them
We
to be
could.
right. And I mean, you guys might have like okay, there's the thing about needing to have a recorded video sample. Even if you were again, okay, if you did an interview with somebody and then recorded it and watched it again, I think that would be really helpful. At least you're gonna, because you might be
Yes.
like, well, I had a conversation, but I'm gonna go in tabula rasa and pretend that I didn't speak to this person and watch this as like an interview. Like that's kind of a different story, I think. But no, I mean, I have to, yeah, like our process right now is that we do individual, then we come together, then we do individual, then we come together, and usually that's right. But in that individual time, before I meet you guys, I can't only watch the video once. It's not enough.
Right.
I have to watch
Right.
it twice, maybe 3 times, depending on who it is. I have to.
Yep.
The first time, it's like you're just getting all these things thrown at you, and you're like,
Right.
Right.
I have a bag
Right.
of stuff. I don't know what to do with this yet. You go
Yep.
back, and you're like, okay, this isn't it. This isn't it. And you're like moving, you start to narrow it down. Then we come together and we're each like, hey, here are our bags of shit. And let's start, you know what I mean? But I have to watch it. My point was I have to watch it twice because I'm just
Yeah.
not getting it all the first time.
And I realize that I get a lot from the second week. Like
Yeah.
I need a
Yeah.
week away from it, or the second time that I watch it, I need a couple days because there's something about like being immersed in someone's video, even if I'm watching it again, that I need some distance to be able to see
Mhm.
or to integrate, something I've
You're
missed. And then
processing
when I
it
talk to you
somewhere.
guys,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and it
It's also
takes time to get all that.
it's also the level of detail as well. Like we had somebody this week that has a 5 with a 4 fix and a 3 with a 2 fix.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a wild combination to even think of trying to mix those into a
Mhm.
person. So
Hmm.
catching those subtle details, that takes a lot of angles and a lot of time, you know.
I think overlay, even though it added more work that we had to do, it actually made us really sharp. Because
Yes.
if you have to figure
Totally.
out the wing on the last fix, that fix becomes louder.
Yeah.
Like it. So you're
Right.
looking at these micro details. I just think it's just forces to get. I mean, because we do them for everyone, whether or not they order the overlay or not. It forces you to look deeper, which means you're spending more time, which means you're probably not making mistakes on the core type at that point if you're going that deep and that
Right.
detailed.
Everything's
Mhm.
connected. It's like just doing the stacking without trying to at least figure out the type is like even when somebody just orders a stacking, we don't necessarily do a
Right.
full overlay, but like we're like, okay, well, if this person's this, like it, so you kind of
Right.
have to fit all those pieces together. So yeah, we do the full thing, and that takes more time,
Hmm.
but it does create more accuracy for sure.
So yeah, I mean, it's not to say that typing people during sessions is useless because people do value that sort of touch. I think if you're skilled enough and
Yeah, I don't
you
know.
can get some good results, but we don't recommend that
Yeah.
as a team. We're
I
doing
think it's
it this
almost
way because
useless. Like, yeah.
it's because here's the thing: people get typed into session and then come to us, and at times get wildly different results. And
Yeah, I
because
think
this
it's
process is much more involved, so we do things the way we do because we want the utmost refined, most sophisticated process that could get accuracy at the level of the wings on a fix.
yeah.
Excuse me.
I mean, it's useless in the sense that like I think that if you want it to be accurate, it would have to be you doing a preliminary interview,
Hmm.
recording it,
There.
watching
Right.
it multiple times,
Mhm.
showing it to other people who are also watching it multiple times, and then coming to a consensus. Basically using that original interview as a typing video, which I think is fine.
Right.
But that
Right.
isn't typing in the session. If you had a session with
Hmm.
somebody and you think you have your type at the end of it, you don't. You just don't.
Yeah.
You're only a human being. It's just not. You can't. You need to observe. It's like, I don't know. The doctor's looking at a rash. They're just looking at your rash, and they're like, "What does this look like? What am I can just sit here and stare at the rash? I'm not having. You know what I mean? Like, and people are gonna say,
Right.
"Oh, well, in therapy you have talk sessions." It's like, yeah, but this isn't therapy. That's a
Right.
different story. Inner work, that kind of stuff. Yes, you want to have sessions because it's me actually like extending my hand out and saying, "This is what I want you to do with this information." But no, this is an assessment of behavior. So I need to watch the behavior.
And
Hmm.
it's unconscious behavior,
Mm-hmm.
unconscious patterns and so forth. And
Yeah.
so if you're in a conversation with somebody and you're sort of mutually trying to type the person you're in the conversation with, they're talking from their conscious mind and their
Mm-hmm. And so
conscious
are
Hmm.
you.
patterns and what they've seen,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
The whole sort of like basis of what we're doing and what how we're able to do this is that type is an experiential reality, and that you are expressing your type all the time, and that if you were to make a sample video, that not only yourself but everyone who knows what they're doing will be able to see it. And so it's worthless even for me to say if my mom is a 2. That's worthless to you guys,
Yeah.
Right.
because
That's right.
I don't actually know until I've been able to observe her in a way that someone else can also observe it too. So there has to be some
There you
kind of
go.
sample. So for me to say that I had a session with someone or I had a conversation with someone, I think that there's this type, that observation is worthless to anyone else because
Yeah.
they didn't observe them also.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's why we have to have sort of independent samples that we can reference and other people can observe. We're like, yeah, we know that this person's this type because we can see it.
Yeah, it was just at the time that you recorded an audio of your sister talking. You were having a conversation with her, recorded it, played it back, and you were like, "Oh shit, she's a
Yeah.
7, right?" And then showed it to us. You
Yeah.
just like this is why we
Yeah.
take pictures and record things, because when you
Hmm.
watch
Yeah.
them again later, you could be like, "Oh, I took a picture. I was in that moment, but when I'm looking at it now, I'm seeing something different than when I was in it."
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely. I mean, just we're all unreliable characters and sort of observers. And so you
Yep.
have to sort of like stop bullshitting yourself and take a picture of yourself and like, oh yeah, this is how I really look. Versus, well, I saw this person and I thought that they looked a certain way. It's like, yeah, your perception is unreliable.
Hmm.
Let's give me the photo. Give me the fucking video.
Well, on that note,